Weir, one of the health and protection experts here at Drewberry, and today I'm here to give you a bit of a rundown about life insurance. What is life insurance, first of all? Now, life insurance is a relatively simple one. It's generally a lump sum designed to pay out on death or diagnosis of a terminal illness. That payout can be used for a wide number of things. So the common reasons are things like funeral expenses, paying off a home, or providing education for your children. Good idea though to speak to an advisor, because there's a couple of caveats and things that we can help and maximise the benefit of your cover, such as trusts, terminal illness and things like total permanent disability. So what can affect life insurance and the premiums? So there's a couple of things to think about. Now obviously, as you probably already guessed, things like your age, smoker status and general health issues are going to have an impact on the premium. But a couple of things not everybody's aware of. And whilst most people will take a guaranteed premium, there are reviewable ones out there which can be a really good way to get your insurance started off and review that further down the line. Of course, there are differences between the insurers, so there aren't going to be standard exclusions. For example, be aware with companies like Legal & General, there are things like suicide clauses. That being said, I know that sounds scary. Different insurers will always look at things differently. Best advice I can give you, get in touch with an advisor and we can find the right product with the right budget with the right level of cover for you. So what are the differences between the various forms of life insurance? Now, as much as I'd love to go into the tiny minutiae of the detail, we need to be relatively quick. So a couple of the key points for you. There's a few different types of policy. The most common one you've probably heard of is decreasing term. This is commonly associated with a mortgage and essentially means the cover goes down in line with a specific debt. You've also got level term. So if you want a fixed level of family protection, this means you've got a level amount that doesn't go down and stays fixed. But there are also other amounts of cover. For example, whole of life cover simply puts in place a level of cover until the end of your life. So what are the best life insurance features to look out for? Now, while there is an extensive list, there's a couple that I generally recommend to look out for straight away. So the first one is called indexation. This you've probably heard of. It essentially ties in the benefit with inflation. Think of it as future-proofing your cover. It means the level of cover can increase in line with inflation. There are other things, however, such as guaranteed insurability options. We all know that life changes. That gives you the flexibility to increase your cover further down the line without further underwriting, which could be a huge factor. But in addition, things like total permanent disability, terminal illness, those can be really, really useful. Life insurance, we know, pays out on death. But having terminal illness cover means that you can enjoy some of that benefit. If you get diagnosed with a terminal illness, that policy pays out early. And whilst, like I say, there are various different features, the best thing to do is get in touch with us or an advisor here at Drewberry. We can understand your situation and can look at those benefits and how those can best serve you. So, what are the best life insurance payout rates and who do they come from? Now, as much as I'd love to say that one insurer stands out above the rest, it's simply not the case. And whilst insurers do have to disclose their payout stats, generally the line that they'll give you is they'll pay 100% of valid claims. The most important thing you can do is take your time to complete the application. If you do it here with us at Drewberry, we'll make sure you've got an expert on hand during the application to make sure it's done correctly. As long as you disclose everything truthfully and accurately to the best of your knowledge, your claim will be honoured. It's important to understand, of course, that with different insurers, they will take different things into account. That's why it's so useful to speak to an advisor, and we can advise you what those questions are likely to be to make sure you're as prepared as possible to make sure that policy pays out for you. So what are the best life insurance premiums and who do they come from? I'd love to give you an answer, but it very much depends on you and your circumstances. Now, you've probably seen on our website, you've got some quote comparison tools. Those are a really good way to start understanding what the differences are in premiums. And you'll probably see there's not much in it between each insurer. This is why it's so useful to speak to an advisor, because although obviously cost is a factor, it's important to understand that there are various different policy features and benefits that we can make sure are right for you. For example, you may want to consider your budget. With one insurer, you might be able to get a slightly higher level of cover than another, but is that the right insurer for you? Every insurer's got a slightly different risk profile and a different underwriting criteria, and it's important to understand the sorts of questions that they're going to ask and how this can affect you. So get in touch with us and we'll match the right insurer for you and help you understand how these things are going to affect your premiums. So what are the best additional benefits you can get with your life insurance? Now again, this is very much subjective and depends on you and your circumstances. Now, there are some insurers out there you may be aware of, such as the big high street ones, Legal & General, LV, that will provide things like free GP appointments, which can be massively helpful at this sort of time. We all know how difficult it is to speak to a GP, so this can be a massive, massive benefit. But again, it might be the case that you think, well, actually, I'd quite like some nutritionist appointments, I'd quite like some physio help. And again, different insurers have different packages to make sure that they're offering as much value as they possibly can. There are also then outliers, for example, Vitality, where you can get things like, your Apple Watch included. The best bit of advice I can give you is speak to an advisor, because it may even be something like, for example, an online trust that's really important to you. Just being able to do that quickly, effectively, and without having to have a wet signature. So again, get in touch. We'll help find the right insurer for you and your circumstances. So who's the best life insurance provider? Now, I'd love to give you an answer, but this is very, very much subjective. And what's important for one insurer and one client might not be for another. For example, if you're really active, great insurers companies like Vitality, they'll give you discounts based on your activity that help affect your premiums. That might not be important. You might have a family that you think, I want to make sure there's as much protection here as possible. Companies like LV, Legal & General can be great. Not only, as we've already touched on, can you have things like doctor's appointment, but there's afterlife services, will writing services and things like that. The best bit of advice I can give you is come and speak to an advisor. There's no charge, and we'll help you understand which insurer is best for you, depending on your circumstances, your family, and what your needs and goals really are.